Welcome back to our attendees. I would like to now introduce our next speaker, Mr. Camilo Tellez, Head of Digital Payments Innovation Hub at Better Than Cash Alliance, speaking on today's topic, reaching financial equality for women through digital payments. Over to you, Camilo.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Honorable Minister Magdi and other distinguished guests. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a great pleasure to be part of this insightful and engaging discussion. Thank you very much as well to our colleagues at Sudan Fintech for giving us the opportunity to be here. My name is Camilo Tellez, and I'm the head of the Digital Payments Innovation Hub at the Better Than Cash Alliance. Today, I will talk about the importance of taking action on financial equality and how it can contribute to the goals of the government of Sudan to scale responsible and inclusive adoption of digital payments and fintech. I will cover 5 key points. First, for those of you who do not know the Alliance, I will explain who we are. I will then touch upon the impact of COVID-19 on women in the global economy and tell you why reaching financial equality is critical to scale fintech. I will also provide some policy options to strengthen access to DFS and mobile money. And finally, I will share with you the global call for action being supported by the Alliance, UNCDF, the World Bank, and Women's World Banking for reaching financial equality for all. Next slide, please. First of all, who are we? The Better Than Cash Alliance is housed at the United Nations. It has 77 members, including national governments from Africa, Asia Pacific, and Latin America, prominent global companies and international organizations, which all have committed to digitizing payments. We work with members providing advisory services based on their priorities, sharing action research, and fostering peer learning. Billions of dollars in cash payments are made daily in emerging economies, including salaries, social transfers, humanitarian relief, and payments to suppliers and farmers. Shifting these payments from cash to digital has the potential to improve the lives of low-income people, particularly women. It also means that governments, companies, and international organizations can make and receive payments in a cheaper, safer, and more transparent way, helping build economies that are inclusive. Our alliance does not want to abolish physical cash, but rather we aim for choice in how to make or receive payments. We want all digital payments options to be responsible and in fact, better than cash. Next slide. So I want to start with this number for you to reflect. It relates to the impact of COVID-19, 247 million. Now, I know here on Zoom, we don't have live interactions, but I wanted to give you 3 seconds to reflect on it. COVID-19 has greatly impacted women and girls around the world. Next slide. In fact, according to the World Bank, in 2021, it will bring the first increase in extreme poverty since 1998, with a minimum of 71 million people expected to fall into destitution. There will be at least 247 million women living in extreme poverty this year. These numbers are staggering. Next slide. UN Women estimates that at least 47 million more women and girls will fall below the poverty. And in reality, their response to financial inequality has been well-intentioned but fragmented. The ambition post-COVID-19 needs to match the massive scale and urgency of the crisis. Success is dependent on everyone doing their part. In fact, the impact of COVID-19 really has created a serious economic crisis with restrictions on cash usage, withdrawals, total and partial lockdowns, social distancing, and exacerbated existing vulnerabilities stemming from digital and financial exclusion. However, there are great benefits and opportunities in digitizing payments, particularly better service delivery to the population and mobilizing much needed resources to fund both public and private investment, creating commercial opportunities for all the providers who are here today. Next slide. And in fact, this is a great time to do it. In June 2020, the government of Sudan joined the Better Than Cash Alliance, committing to accelerate the transition from cash to responsible digital payments, improve financial inclusion and transparency, and build a more inclusive economy. Digital payments are critical to the success of the Sudan Family Support Program, as our colleague Magdi just presented. FSP is providing monthly direct digital transfer to nearly 80% of the households, and the program intends to generate economic growth, reduce poverty, and enhance health and food security. As of 2021, we know that it's reached over 500,000 beneficiaries and continues to reach more and more. Next slide. And in fact, there are great innovations happening in the country. April last year, the Bank of Khartoum received the first of its in-kind license, enabling the issuance of Visa payment products in the country, permitting issue licensing, merchant acquisition, which is particularly useful for e-commerce, and contactless payments. Mobile money usage is also on the rise in Sudan. All three operators, Zain, Zudatel, and MTN, have their own mobile money service. And in fact, MTN mobile money customers in Sudan grew a whooping 600% in 2019. That's a staggering number. And this is still a small percentage of the 33 million overall subscribers in the country. Next slide. But there are some challenges. Sudan has one of the lowest financial inclusion rates in sub-Saharan Africa, with only 15.3% of adults having a financial account. Only 4% of the women save at financial institutions compared to 11% in men. And the formal financial sector remains inaccessible to many segments of the population, especially women. Next slide. As an implementing partner for the G20's Global Partnership for Financial Inclusion, we have worked hard to support each of the G20 presidencies on issues related to digital financial inclusion. In fact, last year during the Saudi presidency, they issued the high-level policy guidelines on digital financial inclusion for youth, women, and SMEs, which provide an indicative and non-binding policy guidelines for national level authorities. These build on the G20 high-level principles for digital financial inclusion, and they're relevant to public and private sector entities seeking to take full advantage of the opportunities from digital technologies and advancing of financial inclusion. So what are these policy options? Next slide. These policy options address the barriers to accessing financial services for women and girls. First, things like lacking access to the basic requirements for financial inclusion, limited digital financial infrastructure, and unequal laws and regulations. Ultimately, this is policy guidance for national, regional, and global stakeholders that can help close the gender gap in financial inclusion, empower women, and strengthen economies. These options are supporting making official identity systems and documents universally accessible to all women and girls, facilitating women's universal ownership of mobile phones, promoting the deployment of infrastructure and protocols for government digital payments to women that are competitive, interoperable, and to the extent possible that are providing client choice. Next slide. In addition, we want to support mechanisms for enabling GDP payments to women that are directly deposited onto digital accounts that are easily accessible and under their control, allowing the range of digital financial transactions, including to governments as well as firms. In addition, providers can leverage technology and behavioral insights to strengthen digital skills and financial capability. And of course, all this needs to be supported by comprehensive consumer protection that address their needs, including requirements to disclose product prices in terms in clear language and appropriate measures to ensure data privacy and security. In addition, there needs to be a reform to discriminatory laws that take action to promote women's full economic and financial participation. We encourage and provide incentives for financial service providers that may increase the representation of women working in financial institutions, as well as the provision of anonymized sex disaggregated data as part of reporting requirements. Making this data available publicly and the use of this data helps address some of the needs in product design and marketing. And finally, of course, supporting the national financial inclusion strategies that are addressing the needs of both women and men and their experiences and needs in all aspects. In addition to these policy options, Women's World Banking, the World Bank, the Better Than Cash Alliance, and the United Nations Capital Development Fund launched a global call to action earlier this year on March 8th, International Women's Day. So now it's the time to swiftly act on financial equality and drive COVID-19 recovery. Next slide. So I want to finish by talking about the UN Principles for Responsible Digital Payments that are launching next month. In 2016, the Responsible Digital Payment Guidelines was the first publication to chart a fairer and swifter route to financial equality. And it did so by articulating how digital payments might better serve their users and become truly responsible. This last year, as we've all seen, has seen seismic shifts in the digital landscape. Every single one has been amplified by the COVID-19 pandemic. The digital economy is now accelerating the attainment of the Sustainable Development Goals. Governments increasingly rely on G2P transfers to address the underserved and vulnerable. Fintech is itself innovating at massive speeds, and there's adoption of artificial intelligence, machine learning, and big data platforms that are remaking the industry at a terrific pace. These innovations also bring about change. And worldwide, there are over 80 governments that have launched digital transfer programs as part of their social protection schemes. So the UN principles for responsible digital payments set the foundation for an inclusive digital payments for all. So just to recap, why is this so important? Digital financial inclusion through better access and use of financial services offers Sudanese, especially women, a pathway out of poverty and is a critical enabler for implementing the National Development Agenda aligned with its commitment to the SDGs. Greater economic participation of women is a key for broader economic growth, a big concern, especially given the COVID-19 crisis. Additionally, overall financial inclusion also contributes to financial stability, and reaching women is key to reach the inclusion goals set out by the government. Financial inequality is not just about fairness, it's also good economics and the ensuring an equitable future for Sudan. And finally, women are key economic agents. They own and operate many of the small micro enterprises around the world, and we're seeing gradual improvements in their participation in the labor force. They are change agents for any economy. And for Sudanese women to seize economic opportunities, they need more customized digital financial products and fintech services to build greater awareness and trust in these services. So we're honored to partner with the government of Sudan to bring lessons from our members around the world, and look forward to working with you to make digital payments a reality for Sudanese everywhere. Thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you. Hello? Camilo, you can hear me?
Yes, I can hear.
Thank you for your presentation. I believe you have already started working in Sudan on these projects and things like that, correct?
Correct. We've actually been assisting our colleague Magdi, who spoke earlier, actually, as part of our technical capacity work. As I mentioned, the Alliance basically supports its members through advocacy, research, and peer learning. And we've been sharing some of the lessons actually from some of the governments, including Colombia, Peru, Jordan, in the context of the COVID-19 pandemic response. But of course, we will continue supporting Magdi and his team at the ministry on achieving the priorities that they set out in terms of digitization and the scale of G2P transfers.
Any exciting things coming up soon, Camilo, in your project? Something for, what are the opportunities for investors, maybe? I mean, for companies looking to invest in these projects.
So the Alliance doesn't, because we're part of the United Nations, obviously we work with a diverse set of stakeholders, right? Both the governments themselves, companies that are actually kind of making payments, and international development organizations. I mean, I think that all these advances that are being made in terms of the reforms to the regulatory environment, then just provide a really fertile ground for further investment. And I do think, as I mentioned, with such a large population, millions who are underserved, I think there's a massive opportunity to be able then to, leverage the infrastructure work that the government is working. And of course, being able to take into account the diversity of its population to really design new products through digital platforms that address their needs.
Perfect. So hope to see you in Sudan next year in the live edition.
I hope so. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your presentation, and have a nice day ahead. Bye-bye.
Thank you.